Hello students, Mr. Stewart here. Today what we're going to be learning about is an introduction to soccer. What our introduction will consist of is just to be learning about the field and all of its uses. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, this is just an overall view of the field and everything that the field consists of. As you can see, there's a lot of lines, shapes, and different rules that go along with each one. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be discussing about what all these lines are and what they mean. So to get started, we're going to talk about just our boundaries. Now our boundaries are the edge lines. And so our first set is going to be this one right here and the one across from it. These are called the sidelines or the touch lines. All right. And then our next ones are going to be the goal line or the end line. And then they have the same thing on the other side. Now the sideline is obviously on the sides of the field, and the goal line is on the ends of the field, which is also why it's called the end line. And an easy way to remember that is that the goal line is directly connected to the goals. Now the distance from goal line to goal line is approximately 100 to 130 yards. Now 30 yards is kind of a big difference, but the reason why there's that much of a gap is that depending on the age of the players or the skill level, the field can be adjusted and changed to accommodate all the players. Now moving on, we're going to go to the midfield, which is this middle section right here with the circle. Now this center line right here is actually called midfield or the center line. This is where a lot of play starts and kind of kicks everything off. Now along with our center line, we have our center circle. The center circle has a radius of about 10 yards. So for all you math whizzes out there, the diameter of our circle is going to be 20 yards. And then our distance from sideline to sideline, or in other words, the length of our midfield line is going to be 50 to 100 yards. And the range of yards, again, is for different ages or different skill levels. So now what we're going to do is go from the lines, and then we can go into the boxes. Our first box is called the penalty box. This is the area where if any foul is committed or anything like that, an automatic free kick is given. So our penalty box is about 18 yards long and about 44 yards wide. Now, there is a bit of difference again for the ages and things like that, but this is kind of just a good general introduction of what is required for the fields. And now we have our penalty arc, and that's the little semicircle that you have above the penalty box, and this is the area where the players have to stand behind whenever a penalty kick is taking place. That's that guy right there. And now we have where our arrow is pointing, that's called the penalty spot. This is where a free kick is given, and it's where if any foul is caused inside the penalty box, the ball is placed right here, and it's a free shot with the kicker only being attempted to be blocked by the goalie. And the distance from our penalty spot to the goal is about 12 yards, and then the distance from the penalty spot to the arc is 10 yards. So the players will have to be 10 yards behind the kicker whenever a penalty kick is enacted. And then we have our goal box. This is where the goalie likes to stay and is kind of their little area and pretty much their living area. Now the goal box is about 6 yards long and is about 20 yards wide. So it's relative to the rest of the field, it's pretty small, but even then it's a pretty large box for the goalie to cover. Now we're going to be talking about the goals and the corners. Now right here, these are our corners. These are the areas inside of it are called the corner arcs. This is where the ball has to be placed whenever a corner kick is enacted. And these are a little bit bigger than 1 yard around. So it's quite a small area. And now we have our goals. Now this is one of the most important measurements of the entire field because our goals have to be about 8 by 2.5 yards. So they're going to be 8 yards wide and 2.5 yards high. for all the American players out there and for those who aren't incredible math whizzes, that's about 6.5 feet tall, almost 7 feet tall, and then going to be quite wide actually. So it's a pretty good, complicated area for the goalie to cover. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to some actual interesting rules. As you can see here, for our sidelines and inlines, the ball is technically not out of bounds until the whole entire ball has crossed over the line. And so if the ball is on the line or only a small part of it is touching the line, it is still in bounds. But as soon as the entire ball crosses over the line, it's out of bounds. And there are also flags placed on each penalty or on each corner arc to reference where each corner is. And if the ball even hits the flag and bounces back in without hitting the out of bounds, it is also considered in play. Now, taking that rule to the goals, the same rule applies. If the ball does not fully cross the line, then it is not considered a goal. The entire ball must cross the line in order for it to be considered a goal. So, here are all of our measurements that we have. And again, this is just a little bit of an introduction, and so we will be able to go over this more in depth, and we'll actually be able to get to go outside and learn more about soccer, and so you guys will get to see a lot more application of all of these measurements and lines and how it all works into the game. So thank you for listening, and hope you enjoyed it.